And welcome back. We're going to do an oil change on a 2015 Nissan Versa Note, and this also applies from '07 up to 2017 since they're pretty much the same engine. When lifting up your car, try not to lift it up from the front where the radiator's at. It's not as strong as you would think, so instead just push your floor jack a little bit further in and you can get right where the subframe is at. It's just past the front wheels and it's a very strong part on the car. This is the same exact location where you're going to place your jack stands. Always use jack stands. The floor jack could give out at any moment, so it's not safe. Don't forget to use wheel chocks to prevent the car from rolling. You could also use a piece of wood or a small brick. This job can get pretty messy, so it's always a good idea to put on gloves. It's time to go underneath the car, so don't forget your oil catch pan, your tools, and maybe even something to lay on. And here I'm just looking around because the last time I did the oil change, everything seems to look pretty clean on here, and that's what I like to see. No drips at all. Once the oil coming out the pan comes down to a drip, you can go ahead and reinstall the drain plug. Now if you have a new crush washer that was supplied with your new oil filter, make sure you go ahead and change that out. Here I'm using an oil filter plier, which is made to remove old oil filters, and you don't want to use this tool to install the new one because the tool will damage the filter. So when it comes down to installing the new one, just make sure you tighten it with your hand as tight as you could get it, and that should be good enough. Grab one of your new quarts of oil and pour some of it into the filter. You're not trying to fill it up, you just want some of the new oil to soak into the filter material so it doesn't go on dry. And also grab a little bit of oil and just rub it on the O-ring. It's going to help it install a little bit easier, and it just makes so that the O-ring doesn't bind up while you're installing it. And make sure you clean off the mating surface of where the new O-ring is going to seat. If there's any dirt or debris in the way, it's definitely going to cause a leak later on. Now you don't have to do this step right here, but I like to write down the date that the oil filter was installed. If you go to your local auto parts store to pick up the oil, they may tell you that the car holds 3.5 quarts of oil, and that may very much be the case. But in my case, I've always found that using 3 quarts gets me pretty much into the full range. So just make sure you check your dipstick, and if it looks like you need more than 3 quarts, just make sure you go ahead and top it off. As you can see, the oil is completely topped off, so we don't have to add any more. Also, don't forget to put your oil cap back on. Whenever I do an oil change on my car, I like to reset the trip A meter. That way I always know exactly how many miles I have on this oil. So that's pretty much it for how to do your own oil change. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. And like always, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.